Tonight, the check stop can stay.
We fully expect that they're going to honor that promise.
Why both sides may be pleased with the judge's ruling on a case brought forward by disgruntled moose hunters. Also tonight, the newest neighborhood. What's in store for a large plot of land near Transcona and why some locals are not on board. Plus,
this has been my home for the last 57 days, and not by choice.
One man explains just how easy it is to end up unhoused.
CTV News. Live from downtown Winnipeg with Marilee Caruso.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. I'm John Hendricks. Marilee is away. We now have a verdict in a legal dispute between a conservation organization and Bloodvein First Nation. The Manitoba Wildlife Federation, which represents the interests of hunters, filed for an injunction against the First Nation in October. They allege Bloodvein is unlawfully blocking a highway and turning away licensed moose hunters. CTV's Joseph Bernacki sat in the courtroom this afternoon and now joins us live. Joseph, what was the verdict and how did both parties react to the judge's decision?
John, this was a case that drew a lot of attention from many First Nations across the province. Several people from the Northern First Nation came to court to hear the verdict today. A Manitoba judge dismissed the injunction motion, but both sides showed relief. Justice Theodore Bach told court this afternoon that the Bloodvein First Nation checkpoint will continue to operate. The nation says it's required to prevent drugs and alcohol from flowing into the dry community. And the MWF says they are pleased the First Nation has agreed in writing to allow licensed moose hunters to pass through. That is timely as moose hunting reopens December 1st.
The Bloodvein First Nation has promised on 3 separate occasions to allow licensed moose hunters past the check stop, and we fully expect that they're going to honor that promise.
As Chief of Bloodvein River First Nation, I am deeply relieved and grateful that the justice system has acknowledged what we have long said. The checkpoint is about protecting the safety, health, and the dignity of our people.
Justice Bach said in his written decision that moose hunters would be inconvenienced but not wholly prevented from entering the territory if the check stop remained.
So, Joseph, did Justice Bach write about how this dispute fits into other conflicts between moose hunters and First Nations in Manitoba?
John, he did, saying there are 3 other proceedings currently before the courts, and that this case takes place in the larger context of who should be hunting moose, when, where, and how much.
Thanks, Joseph. Manitoba RCMP have announced its service-wide rollout of body-worn cameras is nearly complete.
98% of all officers working frontline policing duties in detachments across Manitoba are now equipped with body-worn cameras.
Scott McMurchie, commanding officer of the Manitoba RCMP, says nearly 650 officers across the province are now equipped with the cameras. The rollout of body-worn cameras began in November of 2024. Mounties say the tool increases transparency and helps with collecting evidence such as photos of scenes, victims, and suspects. RCMP released this video today showcasing some of the footage captured by officers while wearing the cameras. Mounties say they have sent over 1,500 digital case files to Manitoba prosecutions, and it's growing every day. The last remaining officers to receive the body-worn cameras are in Barons River, where a new detachment is scheduled to open next week. 20,000 people could move into a new neighborhood being planned for South Transcona. It's a mixture of single-family homes and high-rises, and it's being proposed for 1,300 acres near Dugald and Plessis Road. But existing residents say this will impact their country-style living. CTV's Jeff Keel joins us now live. So, Jeff, what are homeowners there worried about?
Losing their backyards, quiet streets, and money. For 46 years, Fred Ham has lived on this large wooded swath of land in South Transcona.
It's 15 minutes from Portage in Maine. It's country living, and it's peace and quiet. It's everything you'd want.
But Ham and a number of his neighbors are worried that peace and quiet could one day disappear.
I think I might have to move my front steps in so that they can build their proposed 4-lane highway going through here.
A major development plan is in the works for 1,300 acres around Dugald and Plessis Road near the Transcona golf course. Potential plans have been unveiled at a series of public meetings. Homeowners like Ham have concerns they will lose property to a network of nature parks pitched for the area. They worry new roads will impact their homes and create noise, and Ham says he can't afford to hook up to a proposed water and sewer system.
With my 278 feet of frontage, I'll be paying somewhere around $120,000.
But Area Councillor Russ Wyatt tells CTV News another meeting is set for next month where new scenarios will be presented. He says they're listening and trying to address as many of the concerns as they can. He says the park areas are not yet determined and the province is looking into the water and sewer issue. The city is pushing for more housing to combat a shortage, and they're also striving to increase park space. The development could include housing for up to 20,000 people with single-family homes, duplexes and high-rises up to 10 stories, along with services like transit, a grocery store, bike paths, and a community centre. Still, for Ham, this is all too much.
Apartment blocks and high-rises, that's going a little too far.
The next meeting is set for December 10th at the Canada Inns on Regent, where changes to the plan will be shared along with feedback from residents.
Jeff, what happens after the December meeting?
A lot. The developers involved would submit their application to the city. Then there is the whole public hearing, and this would have to make its way through the usual committee process at City Hall, and it would require council approval. And if need be, John, there is also the municipal board if someone wants to take this there.
Still a long road ahead. Thanks so much, Jeff. A restoration project at the Terry Sawchuk Arena has run into an unexpected problem. Now the city has been forced to shut down the entire facility. The city says while the work was underway at the arena, city staff uncovered an unexpected and significant structural issue, an issue so concerning that out of an abundance of caution, they immediately closed the facility. Officials say that they're now creating a plan to address the issue. In the meantime, hockey teams who use the ice will have to find a new place to go, and that may not be easy. The River East Minor Hockey Association says ice time is hard to get, and dozens of practices and skates had been scheduled for the arena. They're calling community centers in the area to see if there is any outdoor ice time available. The arena is expected to be closed until the end of December. CTV weather specialist Colleen Brady joins us now with a first look at your Skywatch evening forecast, and they won't have any trouble finding outdoor skating rinks, at least that have ice on the surface.
Well, still a lot of open water out there right now, but that is going to change or start to change in the coming days. Not just these daytime highs that are getting progressively colder, the overnight lows will as well, but it was a good run through this mild November, or most of it anyway, but now temperatures getting back to normal. And as we go a little further into the week, John, and especially by the time we get to the weekend, temperatures will be below normal. More to that coming up. Let's take a look right now, though. First, through the Bath Fitter Live. Bath Fitter, your bath and shower experts for more than 40 years. In Winnipeg right now, we've had a little bit of light snow resume in the city after some earlier today. It is -7 degrees. With the wind chill, it feels like -14. Winds from the north-northwest to 20 kilometers an hour. The pressure is rising, and the humidity right now, John, is 70%.
Thanks, Colleen. Some people living in Transcona may get some relief from new transit routes that they say are causing issues in the area.
We have cupboard shaking, we got a wall shaking, we have seismic damage showing up, we have cracks on this side of the wall.
Well, as we showed you last month, folks living on Victoria Avenue East said all the new buses now traveling down their street are rattling their homes and even causing cracks to appear in their walls and foundations. Now, the East Kildonan Transcona Community Committee wants the Public Service to consider a full reconstruction of the road and possibly lowering the speed limit.
And if this was a major collector, it would not be allowed to have the kind of joints collapsing and houses shaking. It would be built to a proper standard and it would be maintained to that level. So as this motion points out, that's one of the things that it requests in the motion, that be considered.
The motion would also have the Public Service look at ways to make the streets safer for pedestrians, possibly through signalized crossings or new stop signs. As it says, transit riders now have to walk further to get to their stops. The motion still needs to be approved by the Public Works Committee and full council. We're getting a new look tonight at what life is like inside an encampment here in Winnipeg and how one resident is fighting to get back on his feet. CTV's Daniel Halmerson has his story.
It has its ups and downs. Nature, I'm a huge nature person, so I love it. I love camping, but it gets lonely. It gets cold at night.
For the past 2 months, Sean Bunscook has called this camp his home, but it's not by choice.
It makes you feel degraded. People judge you quick because you're homeless. You have bed bugs. You're a loser. Get a job, you bum. That kind of thing, right?
The 51-year-old says he's not homeless because of drugs, addiction, or crime. He was evicted twice, and that's prevented him from locking down a place to live.
It's hard on you mentally. Yeah. I don't wish this upon anybody.
Bunscook says he spends his money on food and supplies and relies on fast food restaurants to charge his phone to keep in touch with friends and family. And he wants to work, but says there's barriers to that too.
Almost impossible because you don't have an address. I can use Salome's address, but you gotta have some dignity and some pride in yourself, right?
Bunscook says interactions with police, city crews, and outreach organizations have been positive since he set up camp. In fact, he says Siloam Mission staff recently helped him find a home.
I move in on December 1st. I can get my stuff out of storage. I can get out of here and start getting back on track and living life as I should.
Bunscook says he wants to share his story to show how anyone can end up on the street.
I'm holding it together one day at a time. And yeah, I want to get out there and advocate and help people get out of the situation, not get into this situation.
And he adds there's no shame in asking for help, no matter how hard it gets.
I will not quit. My dad always told me the squeaky one is the one that gets the grease. I'm squeaking.
Daniel Halmerson, CTV News, Winnipeg.
The city is looking to add new fines to vehicles for hire, including when a driver fails to alert authorities to suspected human trafficking. Bylaw amendments making their way through City Hall would implement a $500 fine for drivers who reasonably should have known one of their passengers may be trafficked or sexually exploited. Reporting suspected trafficking is already a requirement under provincial legislation. A city report says the fine would only be levied after an investigation. Other possible fines being considered are for failing to ensure a vehicle is up to standard and starting the meter too early. Councillors will consider the amendments on Wednesday. The Canadian Taxpayers Federation is warning Manitoba's debt load is unsustainable.
The provincial government has increased the debt by 61% since 2016.
The Taxpayers Federation says as a result, $2.3 billion must be devoted to interest payments on that debt. In fact, those payments represent the third largest area of spending for the government, after only health care and education. The Taxpayers Federation calls this a huge waste of money, saying it would be better spent on tax relief, infrastructure, or other priorities.
It's been a problem that's plaguing the Manitoba government for years, so it's not a complete blame on the current Premier and Cabinet, but it is up to the current Premier and Cabinet to come up with a plan to solve this problem.
In a statement, NDP Finance Minister Adrian Salas says the province will manage Manitoba's debt by focusing on responsible borrowing, prudent spending, and economic growth. Every day, nurses from HealthLinks take calls from people across the province with health concerns. Today, a doctor is now also helping answer those questions.
Hello, bonjour. Speaking with a registered nurse.
A pilot project is now underway adding doctors to HealthLinks. Right now, the doctor is available from 8 in the morning to 6 in the evening. Now, later in December, the plan is to have another clinician join the service, making doctors available overnight. And in the future, nurse practitioners will also be a part of the service. The province says these additions are intended to reduce unnecessary ER visits. After smoking, one of the leading risk factors for lung cancer is radon. The colorless and odorless gas is present in homes across the province and has been linked to 165 deaths annually. That's why a coalition of groups is launching a new 5-year radon action plan. The Manitoba Radon Network is a new strategy designed to reduce Manitoba's radon-related lung cancer risks. It has several priorities for action, including addressing radon in new and existing builds, removing barriers to testing and mitigation, sanitation, along with protecting children by preventing early exposure to the gas.
It is important that we get landlord supports on board to protect renters, to ensure that we have home builders and real estate agents so that we can get to the start of when somebody is first in their home. They can address it radon easily.
The plan's authors say they're hoping it will help support new policy development going forward and ultimately help reduce lung cancer cases in our province. The City of Winnipeg may consider using full enclosures for transit drivers over safety concerns. A motion before the Public Works Committee would direct the Public Service to assess the enclosure's cost and effectiveness. Now, this comes after the transit union asked for full shields, but it was decided the design changes and cost did not justify the, quote, small benefit to drivers. The proposal still needs to make its way through City Hall. Winnipeg Crime Stoppers is extending its enhanced cash rewards for arson tips until the end of the year. The organization says it's part of a new public awareness campaign aimed at stopping arson. It says tipsters whose information leads to an arrest or significant breakthrough may be eligible for up to $2,000. Crime Stoppers notes a rise in suspicious fires in the city, adding that even the smallest tip can prevent the next tragedy. Residents can submit tips anonymously on their website or by calling 786-TIPS. Well, still ahead, a major announcement between Ottawa and Alberta.
I don't know that the Prime Minister would have agreed to a new bitumen pipeline without pathways, and we wouldn't have agreed to pathways without a new bitumen pipeline.
But it's not a done deal yet. What conditions need to be met before more Alberta energy can flow west?
When you give a child a winter coat, you give them the means to go to school on a cold day, a chance to play outside, because no child should be freezing cold. Donate to Coats for Kids. Proudly sponsored by United Way Winnipeg and CTV.
Taking a look at the markets now, crude oil added 45 cents. The Canadian dollar rose slightly. Gold lost $12 and the TSX is up 16 points. Turning to the U.S. stock markets, and they were closed for the Thanksgiving holiday. A signing ceremony today in Calgary between Ottawa and Alberta. Now that paves the way for a pipeline to BC. It's a major energy deal that lays out the groundwork but leaves lots of unanswered questions, and not everyone is on board. CTV's senior political correspondent Mike Licouture now on the Memorandum of Understanding, the details, and what it means going forward.
Danielle Smith's excitement could not be contained. Alberta isn't getting a bitumen pipeline yet, but it is one step closer.
This agreement includes a clear path to the construction of an over 1 million barrel per day Indigenous co-owned bitumen pipeline to Asian markets.
If everything goes smoothly, senior government officials say construction could start in 2029. But there's one important caveat.
If there's not a private sector proponent, there won't be a pipeline.
That's just one of the conditions as laid out in the agreement, as is Indigenous co-ownership and collaboration with BC to share the benefits. There has to be a new carbon pricing agreement, and the Pathways Carbon Capture project must move forward for the pipeline to do the same.
I don't know that the Prime Minister would have agreed to a new bitumen pipeline without pathways, and we wouldn't have agreed to pathways without a new bitumen pipeline.
The carbon storage program is key to Canada meeting its commitment of achieving net zero greenhouse gas emissions by 2050. The federal Conservatives are criticizing the process, saying the Prime Minister could push this ahead using existing legislation.
We even supported him, gives him the power to approve it. So we only need him to do one thing for this pipeline to happen. Get out of the way.
A pipeline would go through BC, but that province wasn't part of this deal. And the Bloc Québécois says it's a dangerous precedent.
The federal government making a deal in order to backstab a province and its jurisdiction.
Alberta has until July 1st to submit a pipeline project application to the new Major Projects Office. If all conditions are met, then the federal government will make an exemption to the oil tanker ban on the BC coast. Mike Licouture, CTV News, Ottawa.
A Quebec man has been sentenced to 2 years less a day of house arrest for creating over 600 phony vaccine proofs during the pandemic. He was also fined $45,000 and ordered to perform 100 hours of community service within 18 months. If he fails to do that, he'll have to spend time behind bars. The false proofs were created between July and November of 2021. The death toll in the Hong Kong high-rise fire now stands at 94, and hundreds are still missing. The fire was in a high-rise complex that spread through 7 high-rise buildings. The buildings were covered in bamboo scaffolding and green construction netting, and it's believed that is where the fire started. 3 men from a construction company have been arrested and face possible manslaughter charges. The suspect in yesterday's shooting in Washington has been identified as an Afghan asylum seeker. And now the Trump administration is promising to crack down on immigrants from Afghanistan. 2 National Guards were seriously injured in the attack. Karen Travers reports from Washington.
The victims of yesterday's shooting now identified as 20-year-old Sarah Beckstrom and 24-year-old Andrew Wolf, both uniformed members of the West Virginia National Guard.
These 2 young service members who are willing to go above and beyond and pay whatever price our nation asks of them.
The FBI is investigating the shooting as a possible act of terrorism. Officials saying the suspect, Ramanullah Lachenwall, drove cross-country and deliberately targeted the 2 guardsmen as they stood outside a busy Washington, D.C. metro station.
One guardsman is struck, goes down, and then the shooter leans over and strikes the guardsman again. Another guardsman is struck several times.
Lachenwall is an Afghan national who came to the United States in 2021 and lives in Bellingham, Washington. He's facing 3 counts of assault with intent to kill while armed. FBI Director Kash Patel saying search warrants were carried out overnight at the suspect's home in Washington state.
During that process, we seized numerous electronic devices to include cell phones, laptops, iPads, and other material that is being analyzed as we speak.
Officials say Lachenwall worked for the U.S. government in Afghanistan for a decade, including the CIA, working as a member of a partner force there. Sources telling ABC News he was a trusted member of his unit. Lachenwall's 2021 entry into the U.S. was likely part of a Biden administration program that evacuated and resettled tens of thousands of Afghans. Lachenwall applied for asylum in 2024 and was granted it in April 2025 under the Trump administration, according to 3 law enforcement sources.
Any Afghan that worked with the U.S. military or CIA that comes to the United States is heavily vetted to get their special immigrant visa status and, of course, to come to the United States.
President Trump has now ordered a re-examination of all Afghan immigrants who were admitted here into the United States during the Biden administration. Karen Travers, ABC News, Washington.
This afternoon, the Trump administration said it will re-examine green cards issued to people from what it calls 19 countries of concern. Those countries include Afghanistan, Haiti, Cuba, and Venezuela. A tropical cyclone has killed 69 people in Indonesia. The island of Sumatra was hit with powerful floodwaters. Hundreds of people are displaced and roads and bridges are damaged, hampering rescue efforts. Now, earlier this week, the storm killed dozens of people in Thailand and Malaysia. Emmanuel Macron has unveiled a new national military service plan. It aims to deal with growing fears of a confrontation with Russia. Young men and women will be asked to volunteer for 10 months of military training. They would serve in France's mainland and overseas territories. France currently has about 200,000 military personnel. Russian President Vladimir Putin weighed in today on a U.S. effort to broker a peace deal aimed at halting his country's invasion of Ukraine.
Войска Украины уйдут,
Putin said U.S. proposals to end the war could serve as a starting point for negotiations. He also issued a new threat to Ukrainian troops, saying they must leave the areas that Russia has claimed for itself. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says peace will depend on conditions set by the rest of the world and not Russian threats or ultimatums. Ukraine and Europe have shared their own ceasefire proposals, saying the original U.S. one favored Moscow. For the first time in around 2 years, people in Gaza are able to buy new mobile phones. There were long lines at stores in the Palestinian territory today. Israel had blocked the entry of the devices in late 2023 as it announced a siege of Gaza. Soon after Hamas's October 7th attacks, the cell phone import ban was limited and lifted as both Hamas and Israel have accused each other of violations of their shaky ceasefire, and as many Gazans try to endure the winter in the ruins of their homes. This week marks 3 years since the launch of the popular AI platform ChatGPT.
What concerns me is that we're 3 years in and we're still talking about some of the original problems, which include hallucinations and includes bias and where is this information coming from and where is it being scraped from as well. We also have very few people at the helm of some of this technology. So Sam Altman has sort of changed course on the way he originally started this as a non-for-profit, and now there's rumors of this company going public.
Research suggests roughly 20% of Canadians have used ChatGPT, from answering a simple question to figuring out a complex issue, and even helping to spruce up a resume or provide support to businesses. The chatbot was launched on November 30th, 2022. Americans are gathering today to celebrate Thanksgiving, and for many, a big part of the holiday is watching the annual Macy's Thanksgiving Parade. Thousands line the streets of New York City to take in the event, which features supersized creations like this Lego float and massive balloons of iconic characters like Spider-Man. A star-studded lineup of performers included several familiar faces from Broadway, as well as the Radio City Rockettes. But the most important guest, Santa Claus, was the final act as he ushered in the Christmas tradition.
No, I didn't do that. I didn't make that purchase.
Okay, so I believe that you like to cancel the charges.
Holiday season means more holiday-themed scams. Still ahead, CTV's Pat Foran gets a scam call and explains what to watch for if you find yourself in a similar situation.
And after weeks of unseasonably mild weather taking us almost to the end of November, by the time we get to the long-range forecast, we drop below normal for this time of year. Below normal, by the way, for Winnipeg at this point in the month is -6. So by Saturday, a high of just -7, a mix of sun and cloud. Sunnier but colder on Sunday. Well, the two go hand in hand. -11 is the high that day. -9, we'll get some clearing in the afternoon. -10 again on Tuesday under a mix of sun and cloud. But look at Wednesday, mix of sun and cloud with a high of just -15 degrees.
Many people will be doing some Christmas and holiday shopping in the days ahead, hoping to find some Black Friday deals. But be careful if you get a call from someone claiming that there are false charges on your credit card. It's a scam designed to drain your bank account. CTV's Pat Foran has today's consumer alert.
It was a phone call out of the blue from someone claiming to be from Amazon. They said there was a charge on my credit card for a new iPhone.
Your transaction page. Press 1 now to report this transaction, or 2 to authorize this order. Thank you for reaching out to Amazon. How can I help you?
Oh, hi. I just got a call that said there's a problem with a credit card and an Amazon order.
Yes, sir. There is a purchase for iPhone 13, which cost you $749. So is that you who made that purchase?
No, I didn't do that. I didn't make that purchase.
Okay, so I believe that you like to cancel the charges.
Yeah, I want to cancel the charges. I didn't buy that phone.
Okay, now I just want you to look for the application name App Store over there, sir. APP App, STORE, App Store.
You want me to go to the App Store?
Yes, open the App Store, sir.
The scammer wanted me to download an app that would allow them to take over my phone. They would have remote access to my banking, email, and basically everything on my phone.
What the hackers and the fraudsters are trying to do is to get you to download an app from the App Store that allows for remote desktop connections.
I strung the scammer along as she tried to get me to download the application. Okay, I got it open.
Tap on it and tell me what do you see on your screen.
Okay, but will that let you take over my phone?
It's an official application from where you will get connected to the Amazon security server. Once you will get connected to the server, you can cancel the charge as well as secure all the information, all right?
Well, can't you cancel it without me doing that? Eventually, she grew frustrated that I wouldn't download the app, and she hung up. Ritesh Kotak says if a scammer uses an app to gain control of your phone, they have access to everything on it.
And if fraudsters and hackers are able to gain access to it, they essentially have access to your entire life, all your transactions, and all of your data.
If you get a suspicious phone call like this, hang up and never download apps that grant access to your phone. Pat Foran, CTV News.
Disappointment tonight for the Manitoba contingent at the Olympic curling trials in Halifax. Gimli's Carrie Einerson will not be moving on to this weekend's finals. Her team lost to Nova Scotia's Christina Black 6-3 this afternoon. Black will be facing off against Rachel Homan in a best-of-3 series beginning tomorrow. Now on the men's side, Winnipeg's Matt Dunstone is still in contention. He's squaring off against Mike McEwen's rink from Saskatchewan this hour. At last check, those teams were tied at 3 points after 4 ends.
CTV Skywatch weather brought to you by South Beach Casino and Resort. Visit southbeachcasino.ca.
CTV weather specialist Colleen Brady has your complete Skywatch weather forecast. And Colleen, I think we have had almost a vacation from all the cold, but it looks like it's coming to an end.
Well, all good vacations must come to an end at some point, John, and ours is quickly coming to an end. We've been treated to these unseasonably mild conditions for most of the month of November, but yeah, we're getting back to normal, and like I showed you with the long-range forecast, John, temperatures are going to dip below normal in the coming days. But as for the coming hours, there's a little bit of light snow falling in some places. Brandon, for example, there's a light snow shower falling there. Here in Winnipeg, we have some snow falling lightly, and east as well into northwestern Ontario. Light snow reporting this hour in Kenora, and it looks like it's just started in the last few minutes over in Dryden. Across the north tonight, flurries and intermittent light snow. Now in the northwest, it looks like it'll be later tonight, maybe even overnight, when you'll see the flurries fly over your region. Over in the northeast, though, you'll see some light snow sooner. It's not really picking up too well on the futurecast, but meanwhile, if you're in the southwest tonight, watch for clearing because the winds are going to ease right up, the sky is going to clear out, and that means there's the good possibility of fog, which will take you into tomorrow morning, and of course that could reduce visibility. Not expecting that here in Winnipeg, but it should be a cloudier day. Hopefully we'll see some sunny breaks at least at some point, but places like Swan River, you'll get caught up in this narrow band of snow, and that will extend into Barons River as well. Overnight we see a little bit of that intermittent snow continuing across parts of the north, maybe a few flurries yet here in the south, but this major system you can see bypasses us just nicely and stays on the other side of the international border. Saturday, well, it will be dry here in the south. You may pick up a little bit more light snow in the north, but temperatures are going to be feeling considerably colder. Speaking of which, tonight, a double-digit overnight low tonight on the minus side of the ledger, -10, with that snow falling this evening. It's not expected to last all night, but there's still a low chance throughout the night of flurries. Winds out of the northwest at 10 kilometers an hour. That's where they will be for the commute tomorrow. More cloud than sun tomorrow morning, up 1 to -9 with that low chance of flurries all throughout the day, once again up to a high of -6 degrees, and that is the normal high for this time of year for Winnipeg. Some intermittent light snow in the northeast tonight. All regions, Churchill, Gillam, Island Lake, and Thompson more centrally as well, down to -16 there. More light snow around the region tomorrow. -11, -12 for Island Lake and Gillam and Churchill. Thompson -11 as well. Light flurries and light snow tonight, late tonight around the northwest. Lynn Lake all the way down to -16 degrees. The rest of the region not too far behind. The best chance of snow tomorrow, sun rather, will be in Flin Flon after a little bit of light snow earlier on in the day, -12 there. The rest of the region will see continued flurries or snow. As I mentioned, the southwest, watch out for fog overnight, down to -15 for Brandon and Dauphin, -18 overnight for Swan River. Swan River gets that snow tomorrow up to -10. The rest of the region, -8 degrees, including Dauphin and Brandon. Winnipeg in the southeast, a little bit of light snow now, otherwise cloudy the rest of the night. Lows between -10 and -13 degrees, -14 east of the city, and in northwestern Ontario. A little bit of light snow now, otherwise cloudy. Lows between -9 and -12. You'll get some sunshine by around the noon hour in Kenora with a high of -8 degrees. -8, -6 for Dryden and Fort Francis. Our first weather photo takes us near Brandon on this frosty morning this morning. If you look closely, John, there's some Canadian turkeys out there on this American Thanksgiving Day. That photo is from Robert. And this pair, this is Molly and Riot, the Roddies, enjoying the snowfall today out in that stretch between Bel Air Provincial Forest and Traverse Bay. That photo is from Bernadette. Send us yours to winnipegweather@ctv.ca.
Thanks, Colleen. CTV News Winnipeg is building another toy mountain, and you can help. New unwrapped toys can be dropped off for Toy Mountain on Saturday, November 29th at Access Storage on Lawson Crescent from 1 to 4 p.m. You can also make a toy donation at all Scotiabank, IKEA, Toys R Us locations and at select Winnipeg Fire paramedic stations. And Toy Mountain returns to CF Polo Park on December 5th and 6th. CTV News Winnipeg and our friends from Virgin Radio and Bounce will be collecting toy donations on the second floor overlooking Center Court. You can find a full list of all 2025 Toy Mountain events and drop-off locations on our website, ctvnewswinnipeg.ca.
If you're traveling at a high speed and the tire flies off, it can be extremely dangerous.
A winter tire warning, what experts say you should check after getting your tires put on. Every winter and spring, around tire change time, there are reports of tires flying off of vehicles, and it can be very dangerous. Dylan Dyson has more.
This was the scene on Highway 417 near Pannier Road Tuesday morning when this commercial vehicle lost its rear wheel.
A tire had come off the back of a pickup truck that was hauling a trailer with a bobcat on it. Thankfully, the tire didn't go too far and no other vehicles were struck and nobody was injured.
The tire landed in a ditch, avoiding hitting any other vehicles. The highway was closed for about 30 minutes for the truck to be towed.
If you're traveling at a high speed and the tire flies off, it can be extremely dangerous. We have seen fatalities in the past, tires flying through windshields of oncoming vehicles.
This is not the first time we've seen this happen in Ottawa, most notably in 2017, when a set of wheels flew off a transport truck, hitting this van and killing the driver. Police say in Tuesday's incident, the winter tires had just been swapped on and the bolts torqued too tight, stripping them.
In this particular case, it's a company vehicle, and the company had taken the vehicle in for the tire change. So in this case, the company would be responsible.
It's a strong reminder to drivers this time of year to re-torque your wheels after a tire change.
Always have your wheel nuts retorqued. You can do it after 50 to 100 kilometers, or the next business day is what we would recommend to some customers as well, but do come back for a torque check.
At Cal Tire, they say there's more than one reason a wheel can come loose.
You can torque as many times as you want, but if there is corrosion behind the rim and or on any of the mating surfaces, then that wheel eventually can start getting loose and eventually come off as a worst case scenario.
Dylan Dyson, CTV News.
Healthcare spending in Manitoba outstripped most other provinces in 2025 and increased faster than the rest of the country. Now that's according to the Canadian Institute for Health Information, which just released its annual trends report. The agency found by the end of the year, Manitoba will have spent more than $10,800 per person on health expenditures in 2025. That's $1,200 more than the national average and more than 7% higher than last year. The report also found inflation is driving Canada's health spending overall to nearly $400 billion. It suggests innovation is needed to address current challenges. CTV's Scott Hurst reports.
Rising costs are a reality. Inflationary pressures, along with a growing and aging population, are stretching healthcare budgets, ultimately making it more expensive to just maintain current levels of care. A new report from the Canadian Institute for Health Information estimates that in 2025, healthcare spending in Canada will grow nearly 2 percentage points faster than the economy, reaching a projected $399 billion. That's a yearly increase of just over 4%. But even though health spending continues to rise, researchers suggest more spending alone will not solve the current challenges facing patients and healthcare providers.
The bottom line, we're seeing growth in health spending, but a large part of that is going towards the cost of existing care, and it leaves little room for significant investments and change.
Hospitals, physicians, and drugs remain the major areas of spending. Combined, just those three categories are expected to make up more than 50% of total health spending in Canada in 2025. As the report points out, in the current environment, simply increasing spending is becoming much more difficult. Investments, it argues, should be made where they can have the most direct impact on patients, such as improving primary care and providing more care in the community. So the solution, according to the report, is not just more funding, it's innovating how healthcare is delivered. Scott Hurst, CTV News, Toronto.
Medical Watch is brought to you by Manuka and Coster Denture Clinic.
It's right, Roxanne.
The WSO calls the police. Which member of the legendary band will be performing with them?
Spotlight, sponsored by the Casinos of Winnipeg, presenting Hotel California, the original Eagles tribute.
The Winnipeg Symphony Orchestra is getting ready to rock.
You don't care if it's wrong or if it's right, Roxanne.
The WSO is reimagining the biggest hits from the Police during a one-night-only performance on March 28th. Joining the orchestra on stage will be the British band's founding drummer, Stuart Copeland. The high-energy concert will include arrangements of Roxanne, Don't Stand So Close to Me, and Message in a Bottle. Showtime is at 7:30 p.m. at Centennial Concert Hall. Tickets are available on the WSO's website. The acclaimed musician will also be sharing stories from his remarkable life on March 27th at the Days Hotel Concert Hall at the University of Manitoba. A new rom-com out today raises the stakes in the classic Will They or Won't They?
It kills me that I get to have a life with you, but I thought about you every single day.
Oh.
I can't fathom the scenario. It just could have got worse. I love you.
It just got worse. It just got worse.
Elizabeth Olsen's character Joan faces an impossible decision in eternity. After dying and reaching the afterlife, she learns that she has 1 week to decide where to spend eternity, with the man she spent her life with or her first love, who died young and has waited for her for all those years. Actors Miles Teller and Callum Turner complete the love triangle. Eternity is in theaters today. A sequel to the Chris Tucker Jackie Chan film series Rush Hour is coming, and it seems we may have Donald Trump to thank for it.
You destroyed half a city block.
That block was already messed up.
And you lost a lot of evidence.
Still got a little bit left.
The Rush Hour movies are directed by Brett Ratner, but he's been radioactive in Hollywood since being accused of sexual misconduct during the Me Too movement. Warner Brothers had released the 3 previous movies, but passed on a 4th. However, Trump has stepped in and asked Paramount to distribute the movie. Now talks are apparently underway to make it happen. Well, are you ready for some football? Your primetime lineup starts at 7 with Football Night in America. Then catch the Bengals versus Ravens. And Children Ruin Everything wraps up the night at 10:30. It's all right here tonight on CTV.
The CTV Primetime lineup is brought to you by Strictly Amish, exclusively in Arborg, Manitoba.
Underneath the big heads are incredible.
Big heads for a big parade. How they make the giant noggins and how long they've been doing it.
Women's clothing provided by RW & Company. Salon services provided by S Antique Spa Salon.
A little bit of light snow falling out there, folks. It is -7 degrees with those winds out of the north-northwest at 20 kilometers an hour. The wind chill feels like -14, and just like that, things are changing. Highest temperature today in the city was -4, but no match for that record. Set on this day in 1998, we reached 9 degrees in Winnipeg. Tonight we dropped down to -10. With snow falling lightly now, there's a low chance of flurries overnight, a very low, even slight chance of flurries on Friday. Otherwise, cloudy for the most part, -6, -7 by Saturday, just -11, but sunny on Sunday, John, and then cooler temperatures continue next week.
Thanks, Colleen. Well, never mind the Macy's parade in New York. Detroit celebrates U.S. Thanksgiving with a parade tradition all its own, the Big Head Corps. The massive papier-mâché heads have been a part of the parade since its founding in 1924. The latest addition to the Corps, Michigan native and Detroit Tigers legend Kirk Gibson. The parade company boasts a collection of over 300 big heads, including the likes of Tom Selleck, Aretha Franklin, and Henry Ford. Now, while over 300 big heads are in the collection, only about half participate in the parade annually. I guess they don't want all the other ones getting a swelled head.
Oh, another one. You've outdone yourself from last hour, John.
Thank you. I try.
He's here all night. Well, no, not really.
Not really. But Taylor will be back at 11:30, and she will join you then with all her own jokes.
That's right.
See you then.